Dr. Eysturlid. So for those of you who don't know why we're having this, typically these two speak at senior banquet. But unfortunately, we were not able to have them this year. So we still wanted to give them an opportunity to share their wisdoms, their speeches, and that's what this event is. So yeah, they both have had a very big impact on me and Nadia's IMSA experience, and considering that you guys are here, I'm sure they've had one on yours as well. So yeah, with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Eysturlid.
I feel like a lounge singer with this. Is it better? Is it okay without, or is it better with?
Better with.
Better with.
It's like an eye exam. So I wrote some things down. First thing, so he and I have spoken together a bunch of times. He's spoken more than me. Some of you know him, some of you know me, some of you had the great misfortune of knowing both of us. And so I get it. So there's a mixture of things. I brought my little personal notebook because when I sat down to listen to him, I was curious to see what I could take notes on, which I think will be a couple of different things. He's better than me at this in the sense that he'll remember stuff more than I will. So I have some notes. Is that loud enough? Yeah, okay. And so this is not officially the banquet speech, so I thought it would be a little more informal. I'll leave the formality to him. Also, notice another lesson in life, always speak first, especially if the person that comes after you or on before you is better, because by the time you're done, the audience will be partly exhausted, and they won't remember that he was better than you. So I'm doing that. So let me do this. So I just called this a send-off talk. Oh, I recognize the current world we live in. If you may be offended by something or put out by something. If you are, talk to me. Just come to me and say, why did you say that? Or why do you think that? Or what's the reason for that? Right? But you can talk to me. Most of you, I think, most of you think you could mostly, I would hope you feel like you could talk to me mostly. So, you, in 11 days, right? It's 11 days you graduate?
Yeah.
I hope you're reveling in it. No. Think about it for a minute. You need to revel in it. Remember, time travels forward. You might disagree with me on this. Time travels forward in a line to our best knowledge, right? You will never be at this point on the line again. At some point, you will simply continue to suffer from accelerating decrepitude. Wherever you belong, you need to revel in the moment. You're going to revel in the fact that you graduated from IMSA, which I think is a big accomplishment, especially with the speed bumps the university put in front of you in the last couple of years. You should revel in the fact that the people who graduated last year had a pseudo go to college this past year, and the people who graduated 2 years ago went to Zoom college. I'm very hopeful that you won't have either, right? I know you're going to Purdue. I know there's no masks at Purdue. I know there's a fact because my older son is there right now. But the fact, you going to Purdue, Jack? Outstanding. And so that's something really positive. Come back, perhaps, I think, to something that looks like whatever normal used to be with its own new vision of things. And university life is glorious. So I don't mean that in the sense that it's a 4-year party with a $40,000 a year cover charge, although there's some of that. But the idea that there's so much more freedom than what you're used to now. I know a lot of you chafe under all the checks and other things. You won't have that, so you can revel in that, although that also means you have to listen to some of the other things I'm going to talk about managing yourself. Water poured on the floor is wasted, right? And you'll have a lot of water, which is time. Don't waste it. The intellectual ferment that should be college, you should embrace. You should revel in having, and I'll get into some of these other ideas, in the idea of having discussions, in the idea of being wrong and being right, something in between, all those different things. You should be somewhat anxious to leave what I assume are your good friends. Hopefully you have a couple. If you think you have more than 5, don't. But you have lots of good acquaintances, that's awesome too. That says a lot about your character if you have a lot of people that you're on good terms with. But being on great terms with people is pretty good. I mean, I know Facebook, you have 5,000 really deep friends. Facebook's a thing old people use. Yeah, you know Facebook. Have you heard of Facebook? Yeah, I just had an encounter with a number of juniors I made a bunch of rock and roll references that were completely wasted. Like U2 Spy Plane, you know, the group used, see, they had no idea what I was talking about. That those friendships you have here, so you might feel bad. But the fact that you're sad that you'll be missing the friends you have now is positive. Because that means you had great friends, right? If you were leaving here and you're like, nope, nobody, that wouldn't be as happy as it would be as if, you know, when you get to after graduation and you feel kind of sad or whatever it is your expression is, that's actually a positive thing. And so the other thing to look forward to then is you have all these new people to meet, and ideally you would make friends in college. Let me make that suggestion to you. Do that, go and meet people and talk to people. And also don't be afraid if you listen to somebody for a while, you're like, I don't want to talk to that person. Don't. You don't have to be friends with everybody. It doesn't mean you don't have to hate people, right? But you don't have to be friends with people. You can be friendly, right? Without being friends. I think you guys think you're stuck. Once you like talk to somebody, you have to do stuff with them. You don't. So there'll be things you'll say, wow, I didn't know that. Wow, who knew this was going to happen? Who knows, you might even say, oh my gosh, Eysturlid and Dawn were right. Then be sad about that for a while. And you can email me and tell me why I was right. So, the main point I wanted to make outside of that is I want to try to talk to you about the idea that you would free your life from living in, I'm going to say a naughty word, that you would free yourself from living a life of bullshit ethics. And there's a famous Princeton philosopher named Frankfurt who actually writes a book called Bullshit. You all heard the word, but I don't think you know what it means. No, I'm serious. I don't think. I mean, there's the obvious thing, but there's this bigger thing. And the word ethics, I'll deal with it. I used to teach that, but we don't do ethics at IMSA anymore, so we're free. And there's a difference. Ethics is teaching it, right? There's Kantian ethics, and I'm sure you've said the word utility 500 times. Utilitarian ethics, you've heard those things, right? Yeah. I'm not talking about ethics as an educational thing, but you living in, ready, ethical life. Now you're like, oh, that's that control mechanism, that's that thing, right? Oh, you heard the word ethics is the kind of overinflated version of be good, right? And you get the generic kind of parental be good. Well, what does that mean? Well, just don't do the things I don't want you to. And I think we generically use, institutions use the term ethics, or be ethical, or be good as a means of control, but you're never told what that is. I'm telling you that being ethical is living an ethical life, which means living an honest or authentic life. And if you live honestly, I would tell you that you inherently living an ethical life. Most of you probably don't know the Aristotelian part, so you don't know where I'm stealing from. But that idea, so plural ethics is study, ethical in that sense is that. With honest, I'm not sure how I don't want to get too bogged down in the idea of definitions. BS, well, I'm on that too. Remember, BS is not the idea of lying. If I lie, that means I think that something is true. So I'm admitting that there's truth in the world. I'm just not telling it to you. Okay, that's not great, but okay. But if I'm bullshitting you, I'm bending the truth to sell something, to push something, to convince you of something, and I'm bending it, which means I'm damaging it, which means I'm creating the notion that if I'm doing it and you're doing it, then there's no real truth in a real sense. I heard a phrase, a term several years ago. Somebody said there should be a truthiness to what you say, which is a really clever way of saying bullshit. Because there's a little bit of truth in that, right? Why did you do that? Well, I wouldn't lie to you and say, well, worse, I'd be honest, I didn't want to. Well, I had a thing to do, and you look at somebody, you know right away that they're not lying. They kind of had something to do, but that's not really true. So they really didn't want to, and they kind of had an excuse, so they're bullshitting you. It's profoundly unethical. I would argue if you want to use that horribly flaccid word, good, it's not good either. So hold that in mind when I'm talking about. The things I'm going to tell you to do would be the idea that would fit, that you would be honest with things. Now, of course, being honest is difficult, right? And the reason we bullshit people is because why do you do it? Right? I would argue it's because, what? Because you can? Okay, I would argue you do it because you don't care. Right? You don't want to be bothered. It's an easy way out, right? It's a door out the back. If I bullshit you or I lie to you, it's because I don't want to be bothered with you. If I'm honest with you, I'm actually telling you that I care what you think and how you perceive me and how you perceive the world. It also traps you in a place where you can't really be effective, because there's never a moment where you actually can assess what you're doing in a real way, in the way that you would ideally, as wannabe scientists or mathematicians, would try to grasp what's real or as true as possible. And then I understand, I don't want this to go in the wrong way. I recognize that you might think something's true, and you might tell me something that you believe is true, and you might be wrong. That happens. But then you can be honest about it, right? When you recognize you're wrong, you would say, I was wrong. And then ideally people around you, knowing you, and then you're an ethical person, would go, oh, okay. Because a lot of times people BS all the time, and when they do that, you're like, well, now I don't know if you're BSing me or not, and then I really don't care because I don't trust you anyway. And we do it all the time. We wallow in it. I think that's kind of painful, and I actually think we've allowed it too much. It's difficult. Okay. So the other word I found the other day, which I think is more of an English use than ours, is called woolliness, like WOLLINESS, is the idea that if words are too woolly, that's a dishonest thing. We tend to engage in this too much. You've suffered it heavily in the current like uber administrative reality that you live in. I have bad news in some ways. You might be in the university you go to might not be too bad, but the job you choose might really be that kind of uber administration reality. And what I mean by that is the use of words all the time. Like when you use the word, which is my last couple of months has become my big hate, which is the word perfect. Somebody will hand you something, right? Hand you back, you're like, ooh, where is that? What did you want? I give you something, you say, that's perfect. Nothing's perfect, ever. You'll never have perfect, right? And by saying it all the time, it becomes meaningless, right? And there's no flip to it. So if I say something's perfect, the other thing is, what's the opposite of perfect? But imperfect still means there's levels of perfection in it. Or does it mean a complete and utter disaster? That means there's nothing left. And then you have all these words, synergy, right? Collaboration, all those words that people like to inflict on you, right? And you have to do something with them. You have to live up. But what do they mean? Yeah, I guarantee you, if I asked you to think about it for the next several minutes or collaborate with someone, that you would write down a bunch of words for me that you're like, yeah, I heard that at least a half a dozen times the last 2 years, and I don't know what it means. And if you ask somebody what it means, then I don't know. Well, that's being dishonest. You're not being honest with words. What do I need? I need 2 ideas from you. Why can't you just say that? Right? And nobody can, go form a group and work together, and then you're stuck. It's not honest. So I guess what I'm getting with that woolliness is that idea that words should really have meaning, like in a deeper sense. And if you